Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a brand new OpenAPI webinar. My name is Alessandro, and I work as the CMO of OpenAPI. Joining me is Simone Desantis, our esteemed CTO. Welcome, Simone.
Thank you, Alessandro. Thank you all for participating in this webinar. We hope to provide you with useful information to take a moment to see our API, which we have updated and recently published with new exciting features. We have a lot to say, so let's get started in the meantime. Alessandro, if you would like to give us...
Sorry, Simone. By the way, Simone, if I'm not mistaken, you are just back from another event.
Yes, we were, I think last week at AI Week. It was a good experience. We had a workshop on hallucinations, AI hallucinations, of course, and it was in that context that we talked about this new API of ours, which thanks also to discussions with a lot of our customers, we've refined it precisely to make it a valuable tool to go alongside AI for financial predictions and investigations.
So, in the meantime, two small previews I give you about our API world. This week we released Credit Score, which is under the Risk API, with 2 endpoints. We will also be releasing the third one shortly, so I invite you to go and browse the new service. And we have released a new endpoint for company, which we will also talk about today, which is called Name. 2 pieces of practical information. At the end of the webinar, at the end of the presentation, we will be available to you for questions and clarification. And tomorrow afternoon, we will post the recording of the webinar. At this point, I would say, let's get started. So, for those of you who still know us a little bit, OpenAPI was born in 2013. We are a leader in delivering information and services through APIs. Since 2021, we have created a marketplace to expose this information and these products to our customers. So, our business philosophy centers on the quality of the data, which must follow 5 principles. The data must be accurate, complete, reliable, relevant, and up-to-date. OpenAPI is one of very few companies in Italy, I think there are 3 of us, to have achieved the 25012 data quality certification. Today, the topic of the day is data enrichment. Is the enrichment on... Just a second, excuse me. I'm told there's a technical problem on the presentation display. We'll fix it right away. There you go. That's perfect. Thanks for pointing it out. As I was saying, we offer data not only in the business sector, which will be the subject of our webinar, but also on real estate, people, and automotive. By the way, automotive was the topic of the previous webinar, which is now available on our YouTube channel. Now we can talk about the company API. Company has 19 endpoints, 19 services. It currently offers information on Italy and Europe, and in a short while, a month and a half, we will also have a more detailed set of information on France. The timing of delivery is a synchronous service. They are synchronous services. It tends to be for all endpoints. The search parameter is either VAT number or tax ID or company ID. The response is done in JSON, and it tends to be up to 1,300 pieces of information. Here I indicate 1,000, but it is many, many more. The overall cost of the service, each endpoint has a different cost depending also on the data set it offers, and also generally provides for free tiers, that is, a number of free requests. The cost of the call goes generally over this limit from 0.01 to a ceiling of 0.30. Why choose our APIs? First of all, they are services built for individual needs. We come from experience. Those who have known us for years and use our services know that we have a previous API dedicated to business information, both to enterprises. In the 2 or 3 years that it has been active, we have learned a lot. And let's say the new API is also the result of this constant feedback from the thousands of customers who have been using the service on a daily basis. The services, as I said, are synchronous. The response speed is on average 100 milliseconds. We leverage, as I mentioned in the previous slide, the quality and enrichment of the data-only official sources that come from the Italian and also foreign chambers of commerce, from Post Information and other companies that are always certified. The advantage is that the use of our marketplace platform does not require any annual fees. The cost is always per use, and thanks to the solutions and subscriptions provided for a number of APIs, you can save even more on the cost of the single call, the single request. Perfect. So let's move on to the topic more specifically. Company has 2 big macro datasets, advanced and full. Advanced is so named by a series of endpoints, which are the ones you see presented here in this slide, from the simplest, let's say, to the most complex, which includes the whole dataset. Let's start with name. Premise, as I indicated earlier, the search parameter in general is VAT number or tax ID or company ID. The name endpoint allows from one of these parameters to get the name, the city of the registered office, the VAT number, and the update status of the data. Often this type of endpoint can be used, for example, in the autocomplete phase associated with the other endpoint we will see at the end, which is search. Another endpoint is address. Address makes it possible to get the address of the registered office, the address, the updated dataset of the registered office of any Italian company registered with the Chamber of Commerce. In this dataset, there are clearly address, zip code, city, hamlet, province. In addition, there are 2 pieces of information that are the geographic coordinate, the longitude and latitude coordinate, to make sure also to place a company within a delimited map, and the cadastral code. On the other hand, the other endpoint is closed, which allows you to check the status, whether it has ceased or not, with the revenue agency. Let's say it's a first pre-verification in case of invoicing. Also understand the beginning of the business relationship with the company. Understand whether actually the company that is proposed as such is still active or not. The other endpoint is PEG, which provides access to the last peak registered at the Chamber of Commerce and the address history. This is an important evolution from the PEC service on enterprises. Clearly, this allows, for example, to send legal communications, for example, debt collection companies, to always have the latest PEG and also the PEC history. The other service related to electronic invoicing is STI. Again, from the parameters given above, it allows you to have an invoicing code for a particular company. Also, in the world of e-invoicing, of invoicing in general, there is the VAT Group service, which allows you to check with the VAT number parameter and then possibly with an additional tax code parameter, whether VAT Group participates in a VAT group. If it is the group leader, by entering the tax code, it allows you to understand whether the tax code actually belongs to that VAT group, and in case also additional tax codes associated with that VAT group. The other service always related to invoicing is split payment, which allows you to check whether a company is subject to the split payment regime. starting always from the usual parameter tax code or VAT number of company returns the name, the type of the company, and also the date at which it began to be subject to the split payment regime. Another dataset related more to public administration is PA, as the name already indicates, which provides access to about 80 pieces of data on a public administration, including name, VAT number, tax code, contacts, manager at that time, and a range of information on invoicing data. The other endpoint is Shareholders, which allows the user to obtain data on the members of a company. In this case, shareholders can be either from information on companies or legal entities or individuals. It returns the VAT ID number and the company share. Then there are more complex datasets. Start, which partially contains some of the previously mentioned information, again from the given parameters, offers the name, VAT number, tax code, registered office, SDI code, and date of registration and CCIAA status. Start is one of the most widely used endpoints in our dataset, among other things also used by our services, because it allows zero errors, invoicing rejects, because the data is constantly updated, and also allows, among other things, to speed up the timings that can be implemented within an e-commerce checkout, which allows almost zero compilation timings, because starting from the VAT number, it allows almost 70 to 80% of the fields to be filled in. The data set that contains the endpoint that includes all this information is called Advanced. Within Advanced, in addition to the information and data that we have previously listed by individual endpoint, it offers additional data, additional information, such as REA code, CCIA province, ATECO code, business start date, closing date if indeed this company is closed, and financial information about the company. It offers an initial data set, such as balance sheet, filing date, turnover, profits, registered capital, and number of employees. Currently, the dataset provides access to historicized information up to 2017. Having given a general overview of this first dataset, let us turn instead to Full. Full, which by simplifying contains these four endpoints: Stakeholders, AML, Marketing, and Full itself, includes up to 1,300 pieces of information. Let's start with Stakeholders. Stakeholders shows not only the name of the stakeholder information, but also information about the manager, about all the people who have an internal management role in the company. Not only this information, but also about employees. Employees provides access to statistics, such as not only number of employees, but what type, the percentage on contract type, and also durations of contracts. It offers information on the number of locations and whether the company being searched belongs to a corporate entity. Let's move on to the other endpoint, AML. As the name implies, it is a set of information related to the anti-money laundering world, and in addition to information on company data, manager partners, it also indicates whether one of the managers is a legal representative of the company. It offers information on registered office, on turnover as the previous one, plus it enriches this dataset with financial information such as EBITDA, EBIT, cash flow, a history with comparison with 2 previous years. Beyond this, it offers a set of about 48 information about the company's debts. It also indicates whether the company is exporting or importing, and it also indicates the size of the company. The other dataset used for marketing activities, as the endpoint indicates, offers, in addition to the previously mentioned company data and location, contact information such as email, phone, fax, website, and social. It also offers both conventional Italian, European, and international classifications, ATECO, NACE, and SIC. In the case of ATECO and SIC, unlike Advanced's previous dataset, it offers not only the primary but also the secondary, as well as classifications based on the characteristics of the companies we are going to research, such as data on employees, whether it is a startup, whether it is a small and medium-sized enterprise, and whether it belongs to a corporate. The richest data set in this world is precisely full. Full includes all the information that we talked about earlier. It has a specific vertical on financial information. It has information on assets, receivables, payables, risk forecasts, value and cost of production, and so on and so forth. It is about 1,300 fields. I invite you to go and look at the specific documentation to see all the information available. At this point, Simone, I give the floor to you to describe endpoint search, which kind of includes some of the information that we have talked about so far.
Thank you, Alessandro. Certainly a new feature introduced in the API company with this update is endpoint search. This endpoint is the result, as we said earlier, of talking to many of our customers and a lot of use cases. So we have, as it were, enhanced the search to a whole set of features that we are now going to illustrate. For convenience, we have grouped them, shall we say, by category to be more schematic and simpler. Clearly, I invite you to go and read the documentation on our console. Everything is already available. Everything is already usable safely, even in sandbox. So starting in clockwise order, I would start with the search in geography. So we can search by latitude, longitude, and radius, so by geolocation, or by cross-referencing with the Italian postal databases. So checking the information in the Chamber of Commerce, which often may not be up to date as far as information such as the zip code or such as the province or other such information. So the result of that cross-referencing with that data set, there is also the ability to search by province, by region, and by cadastral code of the municipality, or also called the Belfiore code. In this way, it is parameterized. One problem that many customers had encountered was, for example, that searching by municipality, understood as a string, is extremely difficult because some databases, for example, do not handle accented characters, and therefore there is not always certainty about the name of the municipality. In our database, the holdings are synchronized with the actual toponymy, so a suppressed municipality actually the change you would see in our database. Moving on, we have included two types of name search. The classic wildcard search, with an asterisk at the beginning, middle, or end of the search, or the autocomplete search, which is extremely fast and can be perfectly integrated within graphical interfaces. So as the name itself says, within EDG. An autocomplete in a customer acquisition format, starting with the company name if the VAT number is not known, for example. The next section instead is the Chamber of Commerce search. Basically, we have aggregated in this section everything that is specific information in Chamber of Commerce, such as the activity status in Chamber of Commerce, the legal form, so the type of company, SRL, SPA, and so on, the CCIAA and REA data, so the name and number of Chamber of Commerce, the main ATECO code of the company with which it is registered, the PC address registered in the Chamber of Commerce, and the tax code of any partner. So it is possible through this new endpoint of ours to do research directly on the ownership, which is owned by at least 10% of the company. Moving on, we have searches based on the performance of the company, so size, then turnover, with fields ranging from minimum to maximum to, for example, select ranges, do better clusterization of customers, and on the number of employees. Another new feature introduced with this new endpoint is the concept of data enrichment. Basically, against the queries we have seen so far, it is possible to enrich the answer with one of the endpoints Alessandro illustrated earlier. Then by selecting one of these endpoints in the search result, we will receive the data directly. Recall that the results are paginated to a maximum of 1,000 results per page. This clearly is completely free, precisely because you only get the number of potential results that I will get. So with a first search, you can know how much is the data set that I am extending, and with a second search with the dry run parameter off, you get the actual data set. And the last two pieces of data are the creation date and last updated date that can normally be used for synchronizing your database. So for example, to reclaim a customer list, or to update a customer list, you can do a search to select only new companies or only companies that have had a change since a certain date. With that, I think that's it for the research part. Again, I encourage you to check in the documentation, which is all amply illustrated, and you can already do some testing both in Sandbox and in production using directly our documentation in Swagger format, which is already available, usable with the tokens you can generate from the console. This new service, company.eu, basically aims to have information on all companies throughout Europe. Clearly, we're talking about reduced information. So we're talking, first of all, about the verification, the validity of the VAT number entered, because clearly there are many differences between country and country. So already a first use can be to verify at the international level, at the European level, if a VAT code entered is correct. You get the name and address of the company you are looking for. With this, I think we have more or less illustrated most of the services. Clearly, the service is constantly being updated, and any future evolutions we will press to communicate them to you through the newsletters that we periodically send out, and possibly with new integrative webinars with the new features.
So, perfect. At this point, we start with the questions. Gabriele tells us what are the differences between full and advanced endpoints. Yes, correct. They are two very different datasets. First of all, at the numerical level, trivially advanced, if I'm not mistaken, has about 100 data, and instead, full about 1,300. Full has a much more detailed budget analysis financial part. Yes. I confirm that advanced has a budget history that goes deeper up to 7 or 8 years, and instead, unfortunately, currently full is only 1 year, as you indicate. So, Claudio, what is the fastest data set for invoicing from websites? I would say Start. Start should be the ideal solution. It is implemented and is chosen by a lot of people.
Yes. By the way, it has response times that are averaging around 300
milliseconds.
We
also
it is perfect for
presented on
integration
our
into a web purchasing process to
we
have
have
frictionless billing
noticed
at
quite
checkout.
significant fill-in and increased times and conversion rate. So the CRO is not only done with a button color change, but also with an autocomplete like ours.
There is Gabriele asking a very pertinent question, asking us if the price given in the search should be multiplied by the number of results and if queries are included in subscriptions. Yes. So if you do a subscription for an endpoint, for example, address, all the searches that you do enriching with the address data will be deputated on that subscription, as well as if you do a direct search, a direct query on the endpoint address for VAT number.
So, just a second that we read the question. Do you have any summary indicators on the customer's credit rating and another data to indicate a hypothetical overdraft on the customer? Absolutely. We released it just this week and you can find it under risk. Joseph, it's called Credit Score, the endpoint. There are currently 2, and I think every day of a month, a third one will come out. And that will be the topic of the next webinar, by the way.
So there is a question, anonymous, but the question is pertinent because in a sense then to extract the information, let's say, without having a programming base, there are multiple ways. One is definitely try to take a look at our partner program where you can select companies that can actually provide you with integration. Another way, soon the playground will be available in our console, which is then nothing more than a kind of hands-on demonstration with real data of how the API works and can be used clearly even without programming directly from the web interface. In addition, but this is a small anticipation, there will also be a dedicated website available soon for extracting this information. However, still, let's say it is in the making, and so we will certainly announce it in future webinars or in future news.
So is the research free if I don't ask for data? Using the dry run parameter tells you how many, the number of companies relevant to the search and the parameters that were entered.
There is also to add that searching without passing date enrichment parameters returns a set of IDs. That search is completely free. What do you do with those IDs? You can then use them to query all the other individual endpoints, but not only that, they are also compatible with other APIs also in our marketplace. So for example, with the ID that comes back from the search, you can, for example, directly take a Chamber of Commerce view, do a credit score check, which we were saying before, and over time, all the various services will be compatible with this same ID. So this search will also allow you to access other features, not necessarily just the company search endpoint.
So instead, Giancarlo asks us if all the data are updated constantly, if they are updated to 2024, and if information is also available on professionals. I confirm that they are updated constantly. Is there a parameter to identify the database update status as well?
Yes, just the parameter that we return, that is the time of the last update. Normally they are updated in the order of 30 days. So the farthest parameter can be 1 month of update. However, here is every month the update of the whole, the data set is new.
Plus, if I'm not mistaken, new companies information has a much shorter update timeline, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, if instead you want a same-day updated data, there is the whole endpoint always under company full, which is the same time updated data. It has slightly slower response times. We're no longer in the millisecond range. We're in the second range precisely because it's drawing directly from the source, and so it's a little bit slower, and it wasn't perfectly compatible with all uses, such as interface integration uses or in faster business processes.
Perfect. Instead, Giancarlo, regarding information on professionals, there is, if I'm not mistaken, some information on professionals available under Anagrafica Risk. I suggest you go look at the product sheet and any specific API. So, Nicola asks us, can you also request official Chamber of Commerce reports in the form of PDFs? Nicola, absolutely yes. There is a specific API. They are called Chamber of Commerce registrations. Even in that case, there is an endpoint that from the VAT number indicates which type of Chamber of Commerce report can be requested for that company.
Alessandro, I wanted to say one thing, because so many questions are coming in. Clearly, we will answer everyone, so definitely offline. Everyone we can't answer in this session, we will answer offline, but we will follow up with you all.
Perfect, okay. So at this point, Simone, can we say goodbye to the people who are participating and postpone to the next webinar to be given next month on credit score? Thank you for participating.
Thank you all. Good afternoon and good work to all.